talk a little bit about um, the grains that you were gathering back then with students. What sort of stuff were you finding and eating in the field?
Well, first of all, the plant that comes to my mind is yarrow.
Mm-hmm.
Yarrow is not just a salad plant. It's pretty powerful, but you can add it in as a kind of like you can add it in like a salad. Add in a little sprig of that, and it kind of peps it up.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very peppery plant. It's a medicinal plant, actually. Very powerful healer of cuts and bruises and that kind of thing. Toothaches.
Mm-hmm.
And other plants, yarrow is first, and then I'm sorry, that's that dementia working.
Yeah, that's okay.
Indian potato. Indian potato is scattered all over the western United States, and it's a little tiny plant. Grows about that high. But it grows that high underground too. And at the bottom is just a little bulb. Tastes like potato when it's raw. If you could gather a dozen of those, you just about had a meal for a survival meal.
Mm-hmm.
And it was very nourishing, very nutritive. And I always enjoyed those. We also got cattail. Use that a lot. The little shoots off the cattail. And we'd get the roots and grind them up for flour. Make little cakes. A lot of work, but worth doing. There were other parts of the plant that were edible, but not worth harvesting in a survival situation.
Mm-hmm.
Then I like to find biscuit root. It's one of our favorite.
Mm-hmm.
And biscuit roots you can find on the dry hillsides. And they had a tubular root on them, sometimes a bulbous root. And they were like kind of like a soggy parsnip.
Mm-hmm.
Or when you skinned them and got ready to prepare them, they were kind of mushy. You fix them and they were like eating dumplings.
Mm-hmm.
But they're really good for you, and you can make cakes out of them. You can boil them up in a soup, stew. Sago lilies were my favorite. You find those things all over the West, and they were really good boiled in butter or whatever else you had. If you had butter, and just enjoyed all of those types. Most of the good plants come from the dry hillsides. All the rest of them come from like long stream banks or at higher elevations. One of the plants at higher elevation was lost it. Yampa. Yampa was one of the main food stocks when we run into it. You'd find it in great patches. It was a white flowered plant, and it just covered the hillsides, and they were easy to dig. And they were just little carrot-like things on a cluster, and you'd just pull them up, and sometimes it was on a single cluster. And they were delicious. You could just eat them right then, or you could cook them up, and they were really nice, very nourishing. The problem with that is that harvesting wild plants for the roots, you got to dig them up. And when the ground is hard and dry, you can expend more energy getting them than you get out of them. So you had to be careful and judge that. I'm sure the primitive people did also. They waited for those prime days when the ground was sitting moist and soft, and then they could dig them.
And when you've got a group out and you're actually harvesting those plants, and you need to harvest those plants, how's that experience different for the student than when they've just got a food ration that's supplied to them?
Well, it makes all the difference in the world. They earned it, and they won't let it go to waste. They'll eat it even if it doesn't taste very good. And most of it doesn't taste nearly what they're used to. It's a great experience to go out on a hillside and just dig roots for an afternoon all day, and then come home that night with a handkerchief full of roots, wash them all up and put them in their little soup pot and throw in some greens. They can make their supper. Later on, when the laws changed and people started regulating the programs in the government, they said you had to have so many calories per day per child, and which is nonsense. And when they would do that, then we started having to have lentils and beans and certain other kinds of things for them that would cover those calories. And then we kind of lost the spirit of digging the wild plants. Now they don't do it as much, I don't think.
Mm-hmm.
But, what can you do?
To work with the conditions, right?
Yeah.
So what is it that's missing in people's modern lives that they gain by going out and living primitively?
A bunch of bulbs bursting into light inside their heads, a lessening of fear. They have an ability to see something in a different light. I could go out in the wilderness with a group of people and they're ooh and on about the sky and the size of the trees and the colors of the flowers and that kind of thing. And that's what they're seeing. That's what they're experiencing. And it's really nice. I have nothing against that. I do it myself once in a while. But if it's a survival situation, I don't see those things. What I see is a bow staff and straight sticks for arrows, what kind of stones are in the creek bed that can be used for making knives, other tools. It becomes a practical, experiential thing for me to be out there with that stuff. If I'm in an area where I know I can hike over to a certain mountainside and gather obsidian, or if I can hike down into the valley and dig up camas roots, that gives me a thrill that you just can't get anywhere else. This knowledge of being able to say to yourself, well, if something happens, I'm still okay. That's what they come back with.
If you were gonna take a group of young people out, and you were still young and spry and you could do it any way you wanted to. There were no restrictions, there were no regulations. You could just do it in the way that you thought would work the best.
Yeah.
What would you do?
6 kids in a group,
Sure.
2 instructors.
Sounds like you just picked 6 kids and 2 instructors.
And put them out into the wilderness based on the 10 principles of the Anasazi Way. You have to get that sheet of paper from Mike Merchant.
Yeah, and it's on the website.
Okay. And follow them.
Mm-hmm.
And go Stone Age. I still think that the greatest programs that we ever put on was when we were completely Stone Age. Not even a pocket knife. Just went out there and made our own knives. Sometimes we got pretty hungry after the first 3 days. But once you get past that point where you start eating and appreciating and resting, along with your ability to function, things begin to happen. Good things. In the spiritual realm, physical realm, they begin to detox. In the area of their social activity with each other, the worst and the best comes out, and if you're using the 10 principles, you very quickly learn which is best. Which way to handle things, and the resolution of those kinds of things in their lives translate back to their homes. They begin to see, well, this is what my mom does to me, and well, so what? You're getting bit by a squirrel out here too. What does that have to do with anything? And you work your things through day after day until finally the kids say, this is the hardest thing I've ever done, but it's the best thing I've ever done. And they believe it, and it sticks with them. I've been having kids on the trail under those conditions since 1966. And now, today, were you at that reunion at BYU?
No, I wasn't.
Oh. We had a reunion of those people. They're my age even, some of them.
Mm-hmm.
And quite a few showed up. And you ought to get the films on that. The greatest comment was that, Larry, you changed my life. And I'd say, no, you did that. And they'd think for a minute and say, yeah, you're right. But still they want to be thankful and be involved, just like you saw over here.
Mm-hmm.
Some people that hadn't even met me before, but they want to.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a feeling and a commitment and a priority in a person's life that it makes a difference. If your priority is to be like that, even though you don't have the chance to do it, you want to be. And you can still take those principles and put them in your life in the present day and make them work.
The Primitivus Project is made possible by the generous sponsorship of Wingate Wilderness Therapy. Wingate Wilderness Therapy is a premier wilderness therapy program for troubled teens and young adults that offers hope and healing. Designed for both troubled teens and young adults, Wingate offers two distinctly separate wilderness programs addressing the needs of two very different age groups. Wingate operates from the understanding that change comes from the inside out, not the outside in. To learn more about Wingate, visit wingatewilderness-therapy.com or call 1-800-560-1599. Please subscribe to this channel to ensure you don't miss any episodes of the project. New videos will be loaded every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Please like the videos and share them with your friends. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the trail.